Hey guys, it's Jenkins1 here. Today we are going to be covering the Star Wars Force users from least to most powerful. This will not contain every single character, but as many as I can. We are going to be featuring all characters from the dark side all the way through the light side, including the Grey Jedi, and some characters that are beyond the spectrum entirely. And these characters are going to be set against each other in a versus-esque scenario, who could win in a straight-up fight. This does span all eras, and it spans all mediums like comic books, movies, cartoon shows, and video games, everything like that. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to find out who the most powerful characters are, so let's get right into it. Now, this is going to be the most powerful Star Wars characters ranked. So, before I start the list, I'd like to get into some honorable mentions. Now, the first honorable mention on this list is Marr Jade Skywalker. Now, she doesn't have a ton of force feats, and she's not all that impressive, so that's why I included her as an honorable mention. Now, I know for a lot of these, some people might debate, and there's so much Star Wars stuff, and I think Mark Hamill sums it up the best when he says,
I would say no, but I could be wrong. Every time I say something, people have read a novel or a comic book or played a video game that proves me wrong.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, so the next honorable mention is Bastille Shan. Now, Bastille Shan is a descendant of Satele, Shan, and Revan. She's very powerful, but she's not that powerful, so she's kind of in a Jedi Knight category. The next honorable mention that we have is Mithra Surik, who is the Jedi Exile. She was in the Star Wars, The Old Republic games, to my knowledge, and those games were before me, so to my knowledge, she was a part of that franchise. However, I couldn't find many significant feats for her, other than I believe she worked with Revan. Yeah, that sounds right. Also, the next one is Ben Skywalker. This is the son of Luke and Mara Jade. He was always portrayed as kind of a lapdog to Darth Kyp, and then now he's like a child. So that's why I put him as an honorable mention due to his fluctuating status. And then the final honorable mention is all of the kind of Jedi Knights that are one note, and the Sith, kind of like Darth, what's his name? Bandon, and that kind of stuff, and the Inquisitors. They're all just kind of weak, kind of just write-off lightsaber users. In addition, Darth Sion is a part of this group because his entire power is that he can't die, but he's like, because his hatred keeps bringing him back, but he's still extremely weak, and so that's why they're all here, finishing off honorable mentions. Now on to number 54, Kylo Ren. Now, Kylo Ren was first introduced in The Force Awakens, and with that feat of him stopping that blaster fire, and later he was able to paralyze Rey with his force. This is never seen again. That's simply because it only works on the weak-minded and weak-willed, and Rey at that time was. Yeah, so that's why Kylo Ren's at the very bottom. You'll see who's above him. It'll all make sense. But Kylo Ren is kind of a lackluster Force user anyway, and that's why he's right here at number 53. Predictably, coming in at number 53 is Rey. Now, Rey has always been shown to be slightly more powerful than Kylo Ren. One instance of this is when they were fighting over Luke Skywalker's lightsaber on Snoke's flagship, and as they were pointed apart, it exploded because neither of them could overpower the other. However, she woke up before him, and despite having no training of this sort, she showed her power being a Mary Sue and was able to overpower him in the fight where they were doing the lightsaber duel, and in all these instances, she's just slightly more powerful than him, so I gave her the edge over Kylo and placed her at number 53. Now, coming in right after her is Mother Talzin. Mother Talzin at number 52 is the leader of the Night Sister clan on Dathomir, and her power has to do with rituals, and more rituals. Without her ritualistic power, she is almost nothing. To be honest, she was able to fight the likes of Mace Windu, and was able to poison the likes of Count Dooku, simply because others had kind of set it up for her, or she was in the middle of enacting a dark ritual, which when interrupted, the person was able to overpower her. This happened in both of those cases. However, without her ritualistic power, she is very strong on her own, able to shoot blasts of weak force lightning, and able to generate force fields, which is something that Rey could not overcome. Coming in right after her is Darth Marr. Darth Marr is a character who has immense power in the dark side, stated to be the most powerful Sith of his time, aside from the like of Malgus and Revan, sorry. And this is shown in his Force lightning abilities, his telepathy, and his raw strength of the lightsaber, and his cool factor. That's something to always consider. If you have the confidence to wear a cloak like that, then you're probably pretty cool. He's just the essentially kind of strong Sith Lord type, and so I put him here on this list simply because he represents kind of the bottom of the more powerful Sith Lords. Now, coming in right after him at number 50, we have Darth Malgus. Darth Malgus is a character who was one of the main antagonists of the, I believe it's the SWOTR series, maybe it was KOTOR, I'm not sure. And he fought the likes of Satele, Shan, however he lost, and eventually he won, and then he lost again. He represents a powerful Sith. If Darth Marr represents the bottom of the barrel, he's kind of just up there. I bet there's people in between the two of them, but they are kind of more one note, and I tried to avoid them in the list, as I stated earlier. And so that's why he's right here at number 50. Now, for the last person in this section, I have General Grievous at number 49. And the reason why Grievous makes it up here is his appearance in the Clone Wars 2003 miniseries, where he is the Jedi killer. All the Jedis fear him. He is able to kill the likes of Sha'Gi. If you can kill Sha'Gi, heck, you should be more powerful than Yoda. But, I had to keep it a little bit more level because his other appearances in the movie and in the Clone Wars TV show left a lot to be desired. So that's why he comes in just here at number 49 because of his appearance as the Jedi killer in the Clone Wars TV show in 2003. So that ends the first section of our list, and let's head into the next part. Starting off the next part of our list at number 48 is a tie between Darth Tenebrous and Darth Venamis. Now, I know it's not really a tie. Darth Tenebrous would be more powerful than Darth Venamis, and I know a lot of you are expecting them to be a lot higher on the list. Now, Darth Tenebrous was actually Darth Plagueis' master, aka the master of the Emperor. However, Banite Sith actually get supposedly get stronger with each iteration, first of all. And second of all, the reason why they're so low is because of their feats and how they died. Now, Plagueis' master and his fellow apprentice were both master duelists, and Plagueis thought that was kind of like rudimentary and unnecessary, but they did it anyway. And Plagueis killed them both by literally crushing the ceiling they were under. Okay? That's like pathetic. You're a Sith Lord. You were crushed by rocks? So that's why I put them as low as they are on the list at number 48. Now, coming in right after them is number 47, which is Darth Zannah. Darth Zannah is actually the apprentice of Darth Bane, and supposedly, she beat him. But that's because, Darth Bane didn't really want to kill her too bad, so they were doing this kind of weird Sithy ritual, and she kind of, stabbed him in the back, and, kind of, sent his soul into the abyss. But if they were in a one-on-one fight, she would have never stood a chance. So for this kind of cheating and her kind of lack of overall power is why she comes in right here at number 47. Now, just above her, now I know this is going to be controversial, but I have Darth Malak. A lot of people underestimate Malak's power, but he was stated to be nearly as powerful as Revan in every single way. However, he was not as strong as a duelist, and his force powers were slightly less strong. But however, when he combined with the Starforge, he was able to take on Revan and his entire party easily, and was even able to capture Bastille Shan, which shows just how immensely powerful he was, and his feats are the reason why he's able to come all the way up here to number 46. Now, okay, that ends the kind of less powerful characters, and that's why we jump in right into number 45 with Katarn. Now, Katarn's kind of hyped up in a lot of places. He is, a lot of people believe him to be nearly as strong as Malak in raw force power. However, he's an extremely skilled duelist, so that duelist power and prowess really boosts him up and allows him to kind of be elevated to this higher status. And then comes Kyp Durron at number 44. Now, Kyp Durron is above Kyle in nearly every online discussion, and it's something nearly everyone can agree on. And in his stories that I've read, he just seems to impress me a lot more than Katarn does. However, I do not believe he's quite on the level of that of Revan. However, I think he's pretty close. So that's why, of course, at number 43 coming in is Revan. Revan is the dark Sith Lord who is a better tactician than Bane, and he was the master and more powerful than Malgus, and he was the most powerful at his time. However, when he gets amnesia, he goes back to the light side, and it becomes as powerful as some of the most powerful Jedi Masters, and then he takes on the Sith Emperor, and he becomes a gray Jedi with a purple lightsaber, perfectly balanced in the Force, and all this stuff. And he's extremely powerful. However, he's kind of like the player. So the player, unless you're in the Force Unleashed, isn't actually that strong. So with all that aside, he just shows a lot of great Force prowess, but he doesn't quite reach those kind of Legends level of power. So that's why he comes in, ending this portion of the list right here at number 43. Starting off this next section at number 42 is Darth Krayt. Now, Darth Krayt was a powerful Sith who arose from the ashes of the Jedi, but he was not a really formal or very powerful Sith. Now, he was able to go toe-to-toe with many extremely strong Jedi, such as a weakened Anakin Skywalker, a weakened Luke Skywalker, Cade Skywalker, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And now, Obi-Wan wasn't actually trying to kill him, he just defeated him. And when he actually started off as a Jedi, and he became a Tusken Raider after the Jedi fell, and Obi-Wan beats him, and basically he's like, how can you just sit here? And he says, I won't just sit here, I'll just bide my time and become a Sith. And that's exactly what he does. He starts his own order and all this different stuff to rival that of Darth Kytus, and he lasts a long time, he lives almost forever, and he's able to manipulate Darth Talon on his deathbed, he's able to engage in a telepathic battle with Darth Rylock, he's just vastly powerful, he's able to force drain, like, the likes of Abeloth, like, he's really strong, but overall, he's not, like, the most top-tier characters. That's why he's right here at number 42, starting off this new level of power. Just above him at number 41 is Bane. Now, Bane was a Sith who realized that they were kind of getting weak, the Sith Lords, way back when, and he decided to drain all of their power into himself and start the Rule of Two. That's why they're called the Banite Sith. And the Rule of Two, his vision was that the Sith would get more and more powerful from Master to Apprentice, although this didn't always go to plan, as his apprentice was actually weaker than he was, and blah, blah, blah. They'd eventually get there, but it would take a while. So, he's just raw power is what gets him just over Darth Krayt at number 41. At number 40 is Satele Shan. Now, she might be either just under or just above Bane. They both have extremely vast raw power. Satele Shan was able to do vast telepathy, including pushing Darth Malgus straight through several meters, straight through like a rock-faced cliff, and she became the Grandmaster of the Jedi Order. She's just vastly powerful. So, that's why she's right there at number 40. At number 39 is the Jedi Masters of the Jedi Council in kind of Yoda's era. At this point, the Jedi had become more and more powerful than they were back in Satele's day. And so, just like how the Sith were supposed to, the Sith had gotten more powerful by this time. And the Jedi with them. And the Jedi were extremely powerful. The likes of Kit Fisto, Saiz Tin, all those great guys, Plo Koon. Pretty much everyone except for Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, and Yoda are in this group. And they're extremely powerful, so that's why they're right here at number 39. Now, just above them is the kind of culmination of the Skywalker lineage in Cade Skywalker. He was a junkie who was addicted to death sticks and all that stuff. However, he was able to recognize his lineage and fight against Darth Krayt's tyrannical empire, and he eventually beat Darth Krayt after losing to him the first time. At the start of his run, he was able to lift a moderate-sized starship and throw it into the horizon, and at the end, he probably could crumple up that starship and throw it several miles. He was just ridiculous at the end of his run, and so that's why he's right here at number 38, simply because his crowning achievement was kind of easily beating Darth Krayt. Number 37, to end out this section, is Karness Moore, Joruus C'baoth, and the Triumvirate. They were kind of the original Sith that were experimenting with dark magic, and they weren't really that strong yet. However, they had vast ritualistic power, which is like what Mother Talzin has, except to a much, much greater scale. However, without it, they are not that strong. However, there's nothing Cade Skywalker or anyone else below them could really do to stop them. So that's why they close out this section at number 37. Starting off this next portion of the list, where we start to get into the heavy hitters, is Ventress at number 36. Now, Ventress is actually, if you look back at the Clone Wars, she's actually extremely overpowered. Like, she took down both Anakin and Obi-Wan at the same time in the early episodes, and was able to tank Jedi Masters on the Council, such as Plo Koon, Luminari Unduli, I don't think she takes on Aayla Secura, but I know she takes on Kit Fisto as well. She just tanks all of them throughout the series, just casually, some of them. So she's extremely strong, and a lot of them are like, Dooku's lapdog, and then she just tools them. So she's just extremely powerful, and her raw force ability and her blading skills both counteract something that kind of the tiers before couldn't handle. Like, there's no way Kid Skywalker is going to match her in force powers, and there's no way the Triumvirate's going to match her in dueling. So, like, it just shows where they start to become more well-rounded and more powerful. So, following her, number 35 is Count Dooku. Now, Count Dooku is Ventress' master. She never quite surpasses him, despite her supposedly having the potential to become more powerful than he was. He has Force Lightning that is so powerful, can take you down in one blow. And he also can force choke you from across the galaxy, and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. He's also a master duelist, so he's just extremely powerful and just better than Ventress in almost every way. So at number 34, we have Savage Opress. Savage Opress is on this right here on the spot simply because he took down Count Dooku and Ventress at the exact same time. That's it. No ands, buts, or ors about it. He also took down Anakin and Obi-Wan at the same time. It's just really crazy. They're both extremely powerful. And by both, I mean, of course, number 33, Darth Maul. Darth Maul is just above Savage Opress because they kind of did this whole reign of terror together where they took down anyone who came after them. But then again, Savage said, "Why am I taking orders from you?" And then he said, "Let me take you down." And Darth Maul tools him in like 5 seconds. So that's why he's just above Savage Opress at number 33. So then at number 32, we have Freedon Nad. Now, Freedon Nad got pushed out on this list a lot due to a few feats and some low power, though he would beat Darth Maul. That's one thing I can say. Freedon Nad is kind of this more obscure character. He had this kind of weaker rival Sith Empire, and that's something that Darth Maul tried to do, but he failed. That was shown in how he tried to get the Pikes and everything on his side to create a rival empire. He was just utterly wiped out by the governing empire. Meanwhile, Freedon Nad established his kind of quiet empire and stayed in the corner during Marka Ragnos' reign. And the fact that the Sith were pretty much at their prime at that time just shows how immensely powerful he was to be ruling over his entire empire. So that's why he comes in just above Darth Maul. Like, I would say it's a squeeze. I had to look online for this one and try to get a consensus. And the consensus is that Freedon Nad would probably just barely defeat Darth Maul. So that's why he comes in at number 32. Then at number 31, we have Darth Traya. Now, Darth Traya has a weakened version of Force Drain used by Darth Nihilus, and she is slightly stronger than Bane as well in terms of raw other power and dueling skills. And this causes her to be an extremely dangerous threat as she can use Force Drain, which everyone on this list prior to her is vulnerable to. So she could essentially, Darth Maul runs after her, she drains the Dathomirian magic out of him, and he becomes useless. Freedon Nad tries to get her, she drains him of his weakened Force powers, because he's not that strong in the Force. That's why she's above him. Because you have to be extremely strong in the Force to resist Force Drain. So Freedon Nad would instantly just get wiped away by her. So this is kind of the end, where if you don't have near next level Force powers, because Darth Traya is going to take you out. So that's why she finishes off this section right here at number 31. Starting the largest section on this list is the people that are around the power of Darth Vader. And by that I mean legends included. So starting off this section at number 30 is Anakin Solo. Anakin Solo is actually the youngest child of Leia and Harrison Ford. I mean Han Solo. Leia and Han Solo. And Anakin Solo has more potential, had more potential than both Jaina and Jason, which are his two twin older siblings. However, he was killed before he had full time to develop, but it was stated that he was so powerful that he was potentially the most powerful of the entire Skywalker bloodline. But his feats and stuff that he was shown really don't match up, simply because he couldn't reach his potential. That leads right into number 29, we have Jaina Solo. She was an extremely adept Force user who was inferior to her brother, though. So a lot of people will debate that since Jaina beat him at the end, that makes her more powerful than Jason. However, I believe that that's really just plot armor talking, because every other time Darth Kytus fought Jaina Solo, he won. But when Jason finally broke down and just fought his sister, he lost. So that's why I placed Jaina Solo at number 29, just under Jason. At number 28, we have Darth Kytus, or Jason Solo. He pretty much inherited the right to the dark side from his uncle Darth Vader. He was intensely powerful, more so than Darth Krayt, and really restarted the Sith. I said in my proto list, like, I have a small kind of thin list that maybe is like 12 characters long that I thought of on my head before I even start making these lists. He was right under Darth Nihilus, and that's crazy. Now, I eventually moved him down because I looked into it and read more and watched more, but he's still extremely powerful, fighting with the likes of like Luke Skywalker in his prime. So that's why he's at number 28 on this section. At number 27, we have Ahsoka Tano. The reason why she's above Darth Kytus is simply because Darth Kytus isn't Darth Kytus is totally a ripoff of, Kylo Ren is totally a ripoff of Darth Kytus. Because Darth Kytus really kind of almost worships Vader in a sense as well, just like Kylo did until they both became their own characters. But he never is really as strong as Vader. Ahsoka Tano is pretty much like more or slightly less powerful than Vader. When they fought, she could have taken off his head. However, he walked out first, and he's Vader, so I kind of nudged it to Vader. So that's why she's right here, number 27. At number 26, I put Darth Plagueis. Now, originally, I actually had Ahsoka over Plagueis, but as I read that to my friends for some feedback, they said, I love Ahsoka, but come on, it's Darth Plagueis. So it's heavily implied that Darth Plagueis is Snoke, first of all. I'm going to get into that later, but he's a good dueler, and he's extremely powerful. He trained Palpatine, and Palpatine he was so powerful that Palpatine had to cheat and killed him while he was sleeping instead of, like, in the regular Banite way. And likely he's the one that made Anakin Skywalker, since he was born of midichlorians. It was probably Darth Plagueis. And that leads right into number 25, which is Snoke. Now, Snoke is pretty much the same as Darth Plagueis. He kind of idolizes Darth Vader and says, "What you could be, I thought you could be another Vader." Like, he thinks Vader is the ideal apprentice. And in a Banite system, the ideal apprentice is slightly more powerful than the master. Which is why I place Snoke right under. Here he is at number 24, Darth Vader. Now, Darth Vader is pretty much self-explanatory. If you need me to explain Darth Vader, come on. He had a stronger connection to the Force than any in his time. Luke only beat him because Vader never wanted to hurt him, and because Luke had embraced the dark side. Luke, on the other hand, never wanted to hurt Jason in the same way, which is the only reason why Jason would ever kind of stand on Luke's power. But, he still did, so we can give it to Kytus. But, still, Darth Vader is immensely powerful. And then, just above him at number 23, is Starkiller, Galen Marek. Now, I don't know why, but apparently The Force Unleashed is controversial. Like, I saw that from a lot of people. I loved The Force Unleashed when I played it, and the second one's okay. But the original one, it just shows how unleashed the Force can be, and how he beats Vader in both games. Like, he's just uber powerful. Like, if you can wreck Vader, like, with... Oh my gosh, I love Galen Marek. He's such a cool character. But he just wrecks Vader in both games with his immense Force powers, telepathy, enhanced Force lightning, all that stuff, and he nearly beats Palpatine, which is why he comes in just above Vader at number 23. Now, at number 22, I have Anakin Skywalker, simply because he was the chosen one before he got his arms and his legs cut off. He was just immensely powerful. There's just no real way to say that. Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars is absolutely insane. Some of the stuff he does. He fights Count Dooku almost to a standstill, fights Savage Opress, like... It was stated that he could grow to be almost more powerful than the Emperor himself and Yoda combined, which is absolutely insane. He was matching the levels of, like, Mace Windu, like... He's just like Vader in his prime, think of it that way. And then at number 21, ending out this section, is Obi-Wan. Now, I know a lot of people say Anakin's more powerful than Obi-Wan, but if you look at Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars and what he's done in the movies and all that cool stuff, he's just absolutely insane. I love Obi-Wan. He's what I would consider almost to be, like, the most unobtainable key perfect Jedi. And for that reason, he ends this section at number 21. So, yep, nice job, Obi-Wan. Let's move on to the next section where we will discuss the almost maxed out dark side and light side users. So let's get right into that. Starting off, the near legendary status characters is Nomi Sunrider. Now, Nomi Sunrider is a character that was trained by Thawne. Thawne is a character who was a dinosaur Jedi. He was Grandmaster, and he learned every ability from that was known to the Jedi Order, plus more. He even, like, discovered some of them. Couldn't be hurt by lightsabers, and essentially, this is just Thawne, he's coming up. He's extremely, extremely powerful. He's comparable to Yoda in more ways than one. Essentially, he trained Nomi to the best of his ability, took her in as his Padawan, and then each of his friends knew one ability better than Thawne did, each one of Thawne's friends. And then each one of them taught Nomi. So Nomi became vastly, vastly powerful, and she's on the level, if not slightly above, each one of Thawne's friends. So that's why she comes in right here at number 20. And then, of course, at number 19, we have Thawne. He essentially is Nomi, but just slightly better, so that's why he's right here. Then at number 18, we have Ulic Qel-Droma. Now, Ulic Qel-Droma was a Jedi Master who is nearly as powerful as Thawne, almost on his level. And he was trained by Exar Kun. Once Exar Kun had learned all the dark side magic from Freedon Nad, plus more. So he was just vastly, vastly, vastly powerful. And so he mastered the light and the dark, and that's what makes him right here just above Thawne. Then at number 17, we have Mace Windu. Now, Mace Windu has a purple lightsaber, A, because Samuel L. Jackson wanted one, and B, because it was expanded on later, that he actually was like kind of a dark side type person who wandered the path. He mastered a lot of dark side abilities and wasn't afraid to use them, and then he was also the most powerful Jedi the Temple had seen in like millennia. Right, so he's just vastly powerful, almost on the level of like Yoda and stuff like that. He was able to beat Sidious on a one-on-one duel, all that crazy stuff. He's just vastly powerful, which is why he comes in right here at number 17. But just above Windu, just above him, is Exar Kun. Exar Kun was, I believe he was Jedi Grandmaster. Don't quote me on that, though. He had mastered, just like Thawne, like every ability known to the Jedi on the light side. And his crave for power, he went to Freedon Nad, who was, like, leading a big Sith empire at the time, and said, "Teach me everything you know." And he did. And then he killed him. And then he learned even more. And so Exar Kun became a master of the dark and the light side. And he was just vastly powerful. And then he took on Ulic Qel-Droma as his apprentice. But in his prime, he was, like, extremely, extremely powerful. It was just absolutely maddening what he could do. So that's why he finishes off the almost kind of legendary near god tier category. So on to the next one. Number 15 is Darth Nihilus. Darth Nihilus starts off this next category of legendary, powerful characters simply because he starts to get to the planetary scale. His force drain was so strong at its finest that he was able to drain an entire planet of its life energy and just collapse it. This is just insane, as he was able to rival even the strong force users of old. This means like Marka Ragnos and Naga Sadow. He was almost at the level, not quite, but he'd get there. He was almost unkillable. He was killed by Mitra Surik, but that was pretty much circumstantial. On any day where they were just fighting, she wouldn't have stood a chance. So it just shows how immensely powerful he is when he's being compared to like Marka Ragnos. So at number 14, we actually have Naga Sadow. Naga Sadow is basically better Darth Nihilus, as his great, great force magic and extreme power was that to rival Marka Ragnos, as he led a rival group, and it was said that he could destroy into suns and planets with just his raw power. And so that's more than one planet, so he's above Darth Nihilus. Now, I looked into it more than that. But he just has so many feats, and he was stated to be one of the most powerful Force users of all time, and one of the most influential Sith alchemists and sorcerers. So that's why he comes in at number 14. At number 13 is Tulak Hord. Now, he was the Sith Emperor prior to Marka, and Marka Ragnos is the one that was more powerful than Naga Sadow. However, Tulak Hord was even, like, more close to Marka, if that makes sense. So he's more powerful than Naga Sadow. Then at number 12, we finally have Marka Ragnos. Marka Ragnos is a god-tier Sith Emperor who is the most powerful Sith in almost all time. He was the most powerful out of any Sith up to his date, which essentially sets him to be, there's only two contenders for Sith that would probably be stronger, that even could be, because they have to be like Sith Emperors. So that would probably be the Emperor and Valkorion. And look, we haven't covered either of those yet. So, as you can see, he's extremely, extremely powerful. Nearly unstoppable. However, when Valkorion was born, otherwise known as Vitiate, in his empire, he feared him as he knew that he would one day surpass him. And that's why, just above him, are the Dreadmasters. They were stated to be just under Valkorion in his prime, which means that when Marka Ragnos was fearing Vitiate, who's also Valkorian, by the way, if you didn't catch that, while he was fearing Vitiate, which is a weaker Valkorian, the Dreadmasters were above him. So that means that the Dreadmasters are way above Marka Ragnos. The Dreadmasters are just insane. They are this kind of culty, half-alive, half-not group, and they're just kind of edgy, and so they round off this legendary section as we kind of jump into the god tier section. So this brings us down to our top 10. Starting off our top 10 is Yoda. Now, I know Yoda is considered to be kind of weaker, as he's seen in the movies, but Legends just boosts Yoda. Like, you know All Might, okay? If any of you watched My Hero, I recently watched every episode. That list is coming soon. But, essentially, Yoda in the movies, in the Clone Wars, would be like base, like All Might, like when he has his stomach ripped out and he's this little man, okay? Like, boosted Ultra plus Ultra All Might, that's like Yoda in Legends. Like, he's exalted to, like, God tier power. And he's ranking up with the amount of power and raw skill he has, ranks him to the likes of, like, Emperor Valkorian. Which is just insane, like, if you know who Emperor Valkorian is. So that's why he ranks just above the Dreadmasters at number 10. Then, right after him at number 9 is Emperor Valkorian. Now, Emperor Valkorian is the most powerful Sith Emperor of all time, other than, you'll see in a second. But he's the most powerful of all time. He was also known as Vitiate. He was stronger than Marka Ragnos. That's really all you really need to know. He's basically as tough as you can get, besides breaking your characters to a point where they're too overpowered that it doesn't even make sense. And he's already crossing that line. Like, he goes from body to body and, like, possesses them and gets more powerful each time, and, like, I forget how he was killed, but it was probably dumb, because there's no way you're killing this guy. But anyway, moving on. Number 8 is Reborn Emperor Palpatine. He had the power over time travel and Force Storm. That's all you need to know. Imagine Palpatine, except he can create storms that can destroy entire, like, planets and solar systems easily, and he can time travel and send them throughout time at a remote location, teleport others to him. Like, this is from that one story that everybody doesn't like, where they bring Palpatine back to life because they can't think of another villain, so they just bring back the kind of old one. And they exalt him to god powers. That's the best you can really describe it as. And the reason why he's number 8 is because he is the most powerful Sith of all time. He is more powerful than Emperor Valkorian, if you look at what Reborn Palpatine was able to do. It's just insane. Then, just above him, ending our humans on the list, our actual Jedi and Sith are over at number 7. We have Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, who was stated to have 1/12 of Abeloth's power. That is insane, if you know who Abeloth is. He beat Reborn Sidious, and is essentially the most OP character in all of Legends. And look at what they did to him in The Last Jedi. Okay, so making this list made me hate The Last Jedi more and more. If you like The Last Jedi, that's fine. But Luke, it's just insane. Look up Luke Respect page. And just read it. And you'll be like, how did they manage this character? His Force push could push Star Destroyers. He could run faster than a TIE fighter. Like, it's just some of the most ridiculous stuff. He beat Palpatine when he was reborn with time travel and Force Storm. Like, it's just the crazy stuff. So that's why he finishes off our most OP human characters at number 7. Starting off our god tier characters, at number 6 is the Force Priestesses / the Wills. Now, the Wills are essentially an extra-dimensional race that was meant to be the storytellers of the original trilogy. However, this idea was later scrapped in favor of a linear storytelling told from the perspective of Luke Skywalker, instead of having some overbearing narrator, and thank goodness that happened. Okay, now, the Wills are also known as the Force Priestesses. They were shown in the Clone Wars. It was confirmed that they were the same characters. And they unlocked the secret to immortality and showed it to Qui-Gon and Yoda and everyone who essentially is a Force ghost. They're absolutely powerful, except they are not all powerful. They are only light side characters. Number 5, slightly above them, is the son and the daughter. Now, the daughter would have equal power to all of the Wills. The daughter represents the entirety of the light side force energy in the entire universe, and the son represents all of the dark side energy. They were in the Mortis arc. They are extremely, extremely powerful. However, it takes all of their power to beat the next person on this list, which is number 4, Abeloth. Abeloth was actually a mortal woman. She landed on Mortis, and she took care of the son and the daughter and acted as the mother, and to kind of discipline her children. No, it wasn't discipline. To kind of care for them once and for all and help them in their time of need. She drank from the well of power and the well of knowledge on Mortis, and she was driven insane and became all-powerful, and she was known as Abeloth. Abeloth, she looked like a creepypasta character. I almost didn't look into her because I thought she was some weird fanfic thing. It turns out she's actually legit. She came back and fought Luke Skywalker and Darth Krayt and all that stuff, and she was completely unstoppable. She was transformed into a mortal form, and she was still 12 times stronger than Luke Skywalker, if that just shows you anything. And that's Luke Skywalker in his utmost prime. So she's just insanely powerful. However, compared to number 3, she's not, because it took a fraction of the Father's power to contain her. However, the number 3, the Mignal / the Waru, are anti-Force entities that took all of the Father's power to take care of. Now, these characters are essentially anti-universe parasites. They reside in universal living beings, and they take over and they slowly gain power until half the universe was under their control. They are nearly all-powerful, and they almost cannot be beaten. If you kill the person with the Mignal, they just can't die. They're essentially, it's like, imagine if half the universe was infected by a zombie plague, but the zombie plague had one consciousness. And the Father used almost all of his power to wipe the Mignal and the Waru out of existence. So that's, of course, why number 2, the Father of Mortis, comes into play. He is the representation of the entirety of all the Force energy in the entire universe. Not just the galaxy, the entire universe. He was set in place by the Bedlam Spirits, and he's not completely omnipotent. He can die. And Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One prophecy, was actually stating that he was to be the next Father of Mortis. However, Anakin turned this down, and the Mortis turned and collapsed, which is why Luke Skywalker ended up having to fight Abeloth in the first place, because the father and the son and the daughter weren't there to fight. And then at number 1, coming down to it, is the Bedlam Spirits. Now, these are the true omnipotent gods of the Force. They created the entirety of the Star Wars multiverse, including the antimatter universe from which the Mignal, and the Waru are from. They were created when Marvel took over Star Wars and launched their comic series. They are meant to be an equivalent to, like, Sinar from my Marvel video, or the Presence from DC. That's their level of power. There's 4 of them. There are 4. They are equally powerful. They created everything. That's pretty much all you need to know. You probably never heard of them. They have one appearance. It's when Leia dies in the comic series and Luke tries to get her back and all that stuff like that. So they are number 1. But of course, they cannot beat the most powerful thing in all of Star Wars, which is number 0, the High Ground. Okay? The High Ground is the most powerful thing. If you are in possession of this artifact, you cannot be beaten. Just look at Anakin. He went full sicko mode, and Obi-Wan used the High Ground power-up and had the audacity to call upon the High Ground and easily beat Anakin, even though they were fairly evenly matched the entire fight. If Sha'Gi, okay, who also, Sha'Gi invented the High Ground, by the way. So if Sha'Gi, okay, had tapped into the High Ground, if Grievous stomped on him, Grievous would have been wiped out of all of existence. He wouldn't even have died. He would have never existed. So Sha'Gi and the High Ground for number 0. And that's it. So thank you so much for watching. I really, really enjoyed that you stayed all the way to the end. I really tried to make this one shorter. I really did. However, I haven't looked at the total yet. I don't know how long this is going to be, but I have a feeling this is going to be longer than my last video. I'm sorry about that. I'll try to make them shorter in the future, and my next video will not be as long. That is a promise. It'll be significantly shorter. 30 characters or less. Guaranteed. The next video will either be Marvel Telepaths, Mutants, or it will be My Hero Academia or One Punch Man. Any of those videos could be next. Doesn't matter, but thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please subscribe by clicking my icon in the middle of the screen. To the left, you can see Akidasta and Kyp MC. They are 2 good buddies of mine. Akidasta makes anime paint openings. He released a video just yesterday. And then, as you can see, Kyp MC, he makes not paint openings. He makes Fortnite tutorials and Minecraft tutorials if you want to check him out. And then to the left, you can see other videos by me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!